All right, everyone. Welcome back to a very special episode of each of our podcasts, a collaborative podcast from the CoyoteCast and the Maddy Miller Show. I am Maddy Miller of the Maddy Miller Show, and I have two guests with me. Would you guys love to introduce yourselves?
I'll kick it off.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my name is Clay Lenhart.
I'm Andrew Blackburn.
For those listening, I first want to share how this podcast came about, which was very quickly yesterday. Well, it actually dates back before that. Number one, I saw Clay at a coffee shop over Christmas break in our hometown of Findlay, Ohio. And we were just chatting and mentioned CoyoteCast. I was like, kind of joked, like, we should do a collab, whatever. And then a couple days ago, fast forward to the present time, a couple days ago, I saw CoyoteCast posted a new episode. And yesterday, I don't know why, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to DM them on Instagram. And it's come so far to this point where we are now recording a podcast. So,
all right, I'm ready for my fun fact.
Yeah, okay. So on my show, I always have everyone say a fun fact, and I'll share even a fun fact this time, which is exciting. But Clay, you got it. Let's hear it.
Okay, my fun fact for tonight is that I have a fully functional typewriter at the desk right behind me. It's like a 1950s, 60s era.
Fully mechanical
Corona typewriter.
New ink? You have an ink ribbon in there?
I do, yeah.
That's awesome.
What do you use it for?
I was just gonna ask that.
Typewriting.
That's
like,
really cool.
What are you typing up? What are you typing up on there?
Any of the available letters.
Yeah, like what? I mean,
like,
just whatever I want to write.
Yeah, like an essay or okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It just depends. Like I write different things. Sometimes I write poetry on it. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a great fun fact. Way to kick us off, Clay.
Yeah, I like the reveal too. You're like, over here, and there it is.
Yeah, you can take a look.
I know. The visual component is really my fun fact doesn't come with a visual component.
Mine doesn't either.
I'll take my visor off now too.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Andy, fun fact.
Yeah. I thought about it today. I went back and forth. I think my fun fact for today, it would probably change depending on the day you ask me, but I think today it's that what's been on my mind recently is model trains, and I've been getting into model trains, so I've been doing a lot of research and shopping.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you guys ever remember this, but at my old house like that I lived in when I was like in high school and whatnot, the guy like that lived when you would enter my neighborhood, the guy that lived right there had this huge model train set, to the point like it was outside and it was just like gigantic and spread all across like his property, and it was really cool. People would like come just to see it. So,
that's what I hope for. I hope to have
fun fact.
And 15 years from now, when this is all complete and just immaculately detailed, I hope to have like little children neighbors that I can invite into my basement, and I can show them my trains, and they can go home and they can say, Mr. Blackburn showed me his trains.
The part about going down in the basement is really the part that got me right there.
Well, you have to think like I'm picturing myself co-owning this house, and there is no way that a main level room is going to be able to be a train room. That's not gonna fly.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's got to be a basement. It's got to be the room nobody wants to look at. I'll just be in there.
That's the model train room.
I'm gonna have one of those little conductor hats and a whistle. I'm prepared. I'm fully prepared to commit like the next 40 years of my life. In fact, you know what? My fun fact, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, will be I'm planning on I've submitted my application, but I'm planning on volunteering down at my local historical railroad.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
Where's that at? The historical railroad. Is it the one in
It's the
Finley?
Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad in Cleveland, in
Oh,
Cuyahoga
okay.
County.
I
Runs
love
through the
that.
national park.
That's a great fun fact. You guys both had really well-rounded fun facts. Mine's not going to be that way because I don't have a visual representation.
No, tell us.
But this is the fun fact I always share. So now you guys are making me feel bad about how boring it is. But it is the fact that I can solve a Rubik's Cube. Still, actually.
Still.
Yeah, I learned it. Clay, I'm pretty sure you were you in Mrs. Walker's math class when we learned that?
Yes, I was.
Yes. So I learned how to it was like in a math class, like advanced math class or something. And I learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube and I still know how to do it. So but anyways, the B-reel went off earlier and I was like, I'm just going to take a picture of us because I think that'll just be yeah, and you guys are in it.
Look, I took a picture of us.
That's cool.
Oh, fun.
Hey, listen to this. I'm going to put up my soda.
I love that. But anyways, the funniest part is my friend, my coworker just commented and she goes, OMG, are these the chain smokers? Are you interviewing the chain smokers for your pod? Like she thinks that you guys you guys look like the chain
smokers look like.
Oh, I gotta look at this.
She thinks that you guys look like the chain smokers.
That's my dream job, is to be a DJ.
To be
Clay,
a chain smokers tribute band. Oh my god, yeah.
Chain smokers tribute.
Look at that. Yeah, I can see.
If I could go back in time and start over.
This particular photo
That's
right
what
here.
I would do.
Are they brothers or like cousins?
I don't think they're brothers. I think they're just friends.
Transition.
And we're back.
Have you ever seen
Anthony
Fantano? The internet's busiest music reviewer?
No, what's that?
You've seen him, haven't you?
I think I have. It's ringing. Bells are going off.
He's like really annoying. He has glasses, like shaved head. He reviews every new album.
Oh, no, but that sounds cool.
He always does that stupid. He does transition, and then he like.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Kind of makes you want to hurt him, maybe.
Yeah.
This is a random question, but I'm just curious because I brought this up earlier. Well, kind of. Are you guys on TikTok? What's your thoughts on TikTok? If yes or no? Oh no, neither of you. Have you ever thought about downloading it and watching?
No.
And solely watching, not uploading. What are we talking here?
Yeah. No uploading, just a watcher.
No.
A watcher of the TikTok. Okay. But you've thought about uploading?
No.
Okay.
No, and I can explain.
Yeah, please do.
I am sure, I am 100% sure that I could get into it. And I just don't want to because I already spend enough of my time watching things that I'm into on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. And over like the past year or so, I've been phasing out of that. I've been like really limiting the just purely entertainment content that I consume in a day. Yeah. Well, not just, I mean, I'm on a computer all day, but like when it comes to like watching YouTube, I'll watch 45 minutes. I'll watch, I put something on in the morning that's entertaining, and I put something on before bed that's entertaining. But then like on the weekends and stuff, I'll get into like informational, like not educational, but like stuff where, learning how to do something. I'll watch that on the weekend. And it just takes up so much of my time, and I'd rather be doing something. And so I don't want to just have another resource for just something I can waste time on.
Yeah, that I have a lot of respect for that. I wish that I wasn't as hooked as as I am.
That's everybody I know who says they have it. I'll see them on it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you spend an hour with somebody who uses TikTok. At some point, they're going to get out their phone and be looking at a TikTok. And you're going to be like, hey,
Or reference something they
we're on
saw
a
on a
date. Like,
TikTok.
yeah, like put your phone away. That doesn't happen to me.
Imagine somebody's on a first date and they pull out their phone and
A
just like start
podcast
watching
recorder.
TikTok.
I'm just kidding. Cut that.
Thank you. That's very respectful.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it sucks people in, and then there's the whole yeah, I don't even really care about the whole stealing your information thing. I'm sure my information's being stolen somehow in some way and something I'm doing, and like we know TikTok is one of those things. But that's not what I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Cool. Great insights. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
feel convicted. I'm like, man, I should get off TikTok. It's just that like now it's so like just like it's like the source of like not only just like entertainment, but like I get a lot of my recipes from there and I get like a lot of
Yeah.
my like beauty tips or whatever. Which
I
like
definitely
sounds so
think
dumb, but it's like I don't know.
I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, I learned how to do this on TikTok."
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what I'm wondering is like, because again, I don't use it, but like, how of the people who are learning things on TikTok, like yourself, are you in search of these things, or is it just like that happens to come up and you're like, okay, time to learn? Because like for example, I was on like Facebook or something, and like you know how every social media now just like has recordings from TikTok. You see the little thing in the
Mm-hmm.
corner, and I watched something about a guy talk about onions, and I did not care to learn about these onions. And like I
Yeah.
scrubbed through it and I'm like, does something crazy happen here, or is it all just talking about onions? And it was like 7 minutes of how he runs this farm. And I can see myself like if I'm on TikTok and that comes up and I'll be like, okay, and then sit there and watch this whole thing. That's it's just not how I like to do things. I like for example today I watched videos on
I bet model train TikTok goes really hard.
see, that's what I'm saying. I look up videos about model trains, but not
Yeah.
to like
That's
I look up
true.
very specific, like how do I wire this thing to this thing? Because that's what like I'll watch a video on what I want to know right now. And I feel like TikTok is the opposite of this like you didn't know you wanted to know this, but here it is right now. And I'm like,
Yeah. I
that's
don't
not
really
what
want to be at the whim of the algorithm.
yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree, and what you're saying is completely right. I will say like sometimes it's like so I'm not a very good cook and I find a lot of recipes on TikTok, but it's like say I look up one recipe, I'll get 10 recipe videos, you know, and now it's like part of my algorithm or
Mhm.
whatever. Whether that's a good or bad thing in some instances is bad, in some instances it's good. But yeah, it
Has
is
it made you a
interesting.
better cook?
It's made me a more willing to go out of my way to make something different because I'm 100% a person. I mean, now like I'm like a full adult. I buy my own groceries, I cook my own food. And I would be happy making the same thing every single week. Like I'm not like a very like out there eater.
No, I get it.
And so it's made me like try new things. Like like adding edamame to my bowls or whatever. Like I would have never done that in the past.
Why
But
would you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's more
It's good
work
for
than
you
it is
apparently.
food.
Mm-mm.
Sodium,
But
Soy.
soy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you guys are against edamame? Why?
I
Yeah.
don't like how it
Anti
tastes.
edamame.
Well,
I've tried it so many
well, I
times
like
at different places, never been good.
I don't like the
Yeah.
pods. It's
Ugh.
not fancy. Like people
No.
think it's like a fancy, like
Yeah.
Asian appetizer or something.
I don't know. I'm not
Just
like
like an
super into it,
underdone
but it's just like,
soybean.
yeah, that's literally exactly what it tastes like. It's just kind of like there. I don't know. But that was just an example.
I gotta say, the worst part about cooking is like cooking. I hate.
Yeah, like
Really? I
actually like
love
doing.
I
cooking.
cannot stand it.
I hate. Me too. I hate it. I hate the idea of like having to like meal plan, like plan out your
Hmm.
groceries, go and buy them, and then prepare them and then eat them. Like there's just so many steps. There's so many hurdles to getting to just eating
It's just like
food.
a game. You just like see what's in your fridge and your pantry, combine it into like a work
Well,
of
yeah,
art.
I'll do that. I'll do easy stuff, but like when I do not
Yeah.
follow recipes because it's
Yeah.
just so like it takes so long to measure everything out, go back, I'll be like, what, how do you
Uh-huh.
convert,
Yeah,
freaking
but like
half.
unless
Yeah.
you're baking, why would you ever have to do that?
Yeah. That I feel like I learned that like a year ago. Like you don't have to follow a recipe to the brim. You just kind of like try stuff. But like I
Yeah,
feel
I
like I have these
mean,
like 5 or 10 recipes that are just like stored in my head that like those are what I make, but sometimes I'll like switch it up a little bit. I don't know.
I'll do it for like something new.
Yeah.
Like I made Jello salad one time. Never made Jello salad, but I like it.
Ooh, Jello
But I had
salad.
no idea how to make
Interesting.
make it, so I followed a recipe, and it was
Yeah.
good. But it used up a lot of my dishes. My kitchen is not very big, and it took
Yeah.
like it was a lot of work for something that was good.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah. I will say, I feel like we should
what?
go around and share one of the best recipes we've made recently, and partly so that I
Jello
can just
salad.
brag about this one that I that I made.
Why don't you just
Um,
tell us about yours then?
no. I will share about
I don't
mine.
know that I've ever followed a recipe.
Okay, it doesn't have to be a recipe, like just like a favorite meal that you've made more
Okay,
recently.
I can do that.
Mine is
Uh,
there is this breakfast there's like this brunch place in Grand Rapids that has like all these different hashes, and there's this one called the spicy hash that is so good. So I replicated it. And it's like roasted potatoes. It's like a breakfast thing, but you could make it obviously for any meal. Like breakfast, and then you put chorizo,
Hmm.
uh pickled onions, pickled jalapenos, um goat cheese, and then an egg right on top. And that's it. Yeah, you guys got it. And it was really good. If you like spicy food,
Sounds good.
it's really
You do it in a
Mhm.
cast iron?
Yeah, like a skillet type thing. It's not I'm not fancy enough to have a cast iron, but like that's the right vibe.
Fancy enough.
It's maintenance,
It
man.
costs
Like
like $20.
I know, I
It's the
just have
maintenance.
never gotten one.
What
I know
maintenance? You just throw grease on it.
I know that's
I
what
don't know, man. I've heard a lot of
I just
different
like
things about how
washing.
to
I
keep
like
it.
washing my
I've had one
dishes.
for 3 years and it's never rusted. In fact,
Oh,
you can watch me cook with it on our Coyote cast iron series.
oh my gosh!
Oh, you
Shout
didn't know we
out!
had
I
a
didn't.
food show?
No, I didn't. On your YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on our YouTube channel.
yeah. There's something.
Coyote cast iron.
You know what I
Okay,
learned?
maybe I have seen that. Is that the
Okay.
one where you're like in the woods? You're like outside.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
I've seen a little
Not to be
tidbit of
confused
that.
with in the bush. Or what's that one called? Out in the bush.
Push.
Out.
Or something like that.
What?
Coyote
We have
Cast. Coyote
Oh,
Cast
yeah.
is crazy. You guys have so many like little like segments. I love it though.
What do you mean by that?
Like you guys have so many different like I don't know, like areas or like Clay, you have your democracy one.
Listen,
I'm listening.
if you want to have a successful podcast, you should probably focus it on a topic.
Okay.
However,
However.
I I get way too bored doing like one style of show or one topic.
Oh yeah.
So we've kind of just like experimented with everything.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
seriously, and I'm not even saying this just because I'm on this podcast with you guys. It's one of the things I admire most about CoyoteCast and have since its beginnings in whatever year that was,
Thank
5
you.
or 6
Yeah.
years ago. So
I've never
really,
talked about CoyoteCast on air, I don't think.
oh, well, there's a first time for everything. CoyoteCast is a fun podcast to go listen to, and I also think it's fun to watch the YouTube version. Like, I am a podcast listener, but I always do think it's fun to like watch like your guys' videos as well. That's something that I wish I had on my end. So
It adds another dimension.
it does. It does for sure. What's your guys' favorite? Well, I don't know. If, it's probably gonna be different for both of you, but what's your favorite episode you've ever published?
All right, we'll say it on 3.
Well, hold on. Are we talking about just our podcasts or like?
Oh, that's because I kind of forgot
everything?
that that's different. Because CoyoteCast is a YouTube channel and podcast, and some they don't overlap always.
It's a lifestyle.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that about my podcast. The Maddy Miller Show is a lifestyle. It's not. Anything CoyoteCast related.
I think John Roselle's episode is really good and hasn't gotten enough views.
I was gonna say the like promo I did for John's art. That's the favorite thing I've done. I think that was a lot of fun to make.
So what was the podcast episode about his art? I remember that he's a very good artist. That's cool. I'll go give it a listen.
His art in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you guys record that? Like recently or more like towards our high school
13
career?
months ago.
I would say
I think last December.
I would say we probably released it 1 year ago to this day. Probably about that. Exactly.
Wow. Like literally, are you looking at it right now?
Yeah, January 12th, 2022.
Wow.
Not to date this episode or anything.
Yeah. I know, because I don't know when I'll post this, but okay, that's really cool. I'll have to go give that a listen.
What do you think about art, Maddy?
What do I think about art? I took a class in college called Art and Aesthetics, and the first half of the class was talking about like that idea of like what is art and can anything be art and whatnot. And obviously there was like no solid conclusion, but it made me think a lot about like what I consider to be art and whatnot. And like I never would have thought of myself as like someone who is good at art because I don't know how to like draw and paint. But I now have a broader understanding of art, and I feel like what we do, like your craft, that is art. So like my podcast or the way that I live my life is like art.
Do you believe in Kunst für die Kunst?
I don't know what that means.
Do you believe in art for art's sake?
Art for art's sake.
I'm just kidding. I'm just being obnoxious.
What? Do you believe in that? I'm curious.
No.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Oh. Yes, it exists. It's not cool though.
Okay. You don't think art should just be art for art's sake?
No, I think there should be more meaning.
Is that what that episode with John is about?
I can't remember.
This very topic?
It's about art for our sake.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm excited to take a listen to that.
What did you learn in your aesthetics class?
It was so long ago. I'm trying to think, but so it was called like ethics and aesthetics, I think it was called. I think I said that wrong earlier. So the first half was about aesthetics, which was like about
That's an
art.
interesting combo.
Yeah. And the second half was about ethics, like the ethics of, I don't know, art. So like ethical photography, ethical journalism, you know, like stuff like that. So the first part was like about aesthetics and like what can be aesthetic and how aesthetics play into things. Yeah, it was an interesting class, and it was just basically a bunch of theoretical questions, I feel like, that we just answered.
Do you like theoretical questions, or do you like...
I do like theoretical questions, but I'm not always a super deep thinker. Like I'm more of like just like I'm just here to chill. So like sometimes it's hard for me to go like deep like into like what does art mean to you? Like I'm not always like the best that can come up with like something on the spot for those types of questions. But if you're asking me a theoretical question like what would you do if you had $1 million? Like I could answer that easily, you know.
If you saw a train going at two people, but you could flip the switch and it only hit one person, what would you do and why?
Okay, so it's going towards two people. You could
If you
flip the
do
switch.
nothing, two people die. If you do something, one person dies.
That is an interesting question. I feel like my immediate response was to flip the switch, so only one person has to die. But I do
Yeah,
hate
but
the fact that I would have
Good choice.
I would
It'd be
have to
your...
choose.
Yeah.
Like, but I think I don't know. Yeah, that's
If an
rough.
axe murderer showed up at your front door and asked where your child was, would you tell him?
No. Is that supposed
My
to be a
child.
theoretical question?
Yes.
I don't have a child, but
We're
if I did,
determining
I would.
right now whether you believe in Kantian ethics or utilitarian ethics.
This is a BuzzFeed quiz.
Yeah, what
Are we on
what kind
NPR?
of quiz are we? Yeah, this quickly turned to an NPR podcast. Okay, so
No.
easily no, I would not tell them. I would not tell them where my child is. Would you?
I'm asking the questions here.
Yeah.
I don't like ethics.
Okay.
I don't like a lot of the like famous questions in ethics.
Yeah. That's fair. That's really fair. Okay.
What do you think about work? That's what we're supposed to be talking about.
I know
I'm the
it
host
is
now.
funny. Okay.
What is your
Clay-
philosophy on work
Yeah.
and life?
Like the work-life balance, is that what you're asking me? Or just work and life? Work and
I don't
life.
like that phrasing, but yeah, work
Okay.
and life.
Okay. My number one thought is that I do believe we were made to work. Like, I think that whether you like, I don't know, that's just like an all-encompassing statement, but I do think we were made to work, and I think that work was not always meant to be easy for us, but I also don't think that you exactly, and I also don't think that you deserve to be miserable at work. And you know what, ironically, on Monday I went to this thing that in Grand Rapids, it's called Econ Club. It's about like economics and whatnot. It's like this big fancy lunch thing, and we had there the speaker was John Clifton, who is the CEO of Gallup, and also like a grandson of the guy who created Clifton Strength Finders. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but yeah,
I do.
So he's the grandson of that guy. Anyways, he gave this really awesome talk. Basically, it was more about like the statistics on working from home, but it was also talking about like workplace happiness and like how like I don't know, basically how it is super harmful to our society for people to be like miserable at work, which is like obvious, but like not always obvious. So I think there's a balance between, I think that that everybody needs to work and that it's not always supposed to be easy, but it's also always not supposed to be hard. And I think that is my philosophy of work. I also think that it's important for you to stand with the mission of whatever company or organization you're working at. I
Oof.
don't think that you can separate your work and the mission of the
Really?
company. Yeah.
Why do you believe
I
that?
I mean, because I think that that will
You
ultimately
sorry,
lead.
let me interject to give you
Yeah.
direction. You don't think you can do that, or you think that you should not do that?
Oh, great clarification. I don't think that you should do that. I think you could, but I think that ultimately that will lead to you not putting your best effort forward, or you not like living a full life. Like, I think that if you're going to work every day and you think what you're doing is meaningless, that's just going to like not, I don't even know how to phrase this, but I don't think
So, do
that's
you ever
good.
think that some types of work are almost so removed from like the larger mission of the company that even if your company has a great mission statement, that it's still difficult to buy into, to feel like every day while you're doing your little thing that you're part of
Yes.
part of the
I
mission?
think I think for sure. Which is tough. That's tough.
What do you think you would do in that situation? Andy, you can answer as well.
If I were in that situation,
Yeah.
um, I mean, I feel like I've been in that situation. Uh, and I feel like in those times you just have to like find something like kind of mindset to just keep you going through it. So like obviously what would keep somebody in a job like that is like income. So you're making
Mm-hmm.
like nuts and bolts in a factory for like you don't even know what, you don't know where it's going, you don't know who it's affecting at all. It could be for something bad, it could be for something good. You don't know, you're just like there every day, and like sounds like a sucky job. But like a friend of mine said, like you just like put on a podcast or something if you can, or like that's like a time when you can think to yourself, come up with
Mm-hmm.
ideas then, and use then your free time to do something you really enjoy. And I don't know, I feel like there's days at my job where, not that like I don't agree with what I'm doing, but like those really slow days, and you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, like this is killing me, and your mind is somewhere else, and you just kind of got to find something to do with yourself to be productive for yourself.
I
Yeah.
agree.
No, I agree. I think that's really true. Like, I can even relate to that right now. Like, the place where I work at a college, and I work like in a department. And like, I think their mission is great, and I think like making the donors to the university, like that's all great and stuff, but I don't always feel like that is my mission in life. But I also feel like like the skills that I'm learning from the jobs, or like learning how to just like honestly be an adult and like go to a job from 9 to 5 every day, like those are things that are helping me grow as an individual and whatnot. And like there's always some aspect of your job that is helping you grow as a person, and ultimately like hopefully working towards a career or a job that like is bringing you more closely aligned with your personal goals for whatever your personal goals are for your career. Because some people, like I will say, like they don't have their career goals are to like make enough money to like be able, when they start having kids, to not work, and that might be their career goal, and then some people is like, I don't know, I always think that it's important to like be doing something in your current job that's like helping you get to wherever you want to go, and like that's your own decision of what exactly your career goals are.
Do you think you ever get to that point where you
Like,
have your perfect, like you have your job, it's aligned with your
mm,
mission, this is your career goal that you grew into?
I don't know.
That's kind of like what your podcast is about, right? Is like
Yeah.
finding out how people got into their dream jobs or
Yeah.
like how they grew their careers.
Yeah, it
So what
is.
have you
Well, my
learned
podcast.
through the course of your interviews?
Yeah, I guess like so I started that era of my podcast when I was like quitting grad school and like super confused about where I wanted to head. And I just always felt inspired by like people who were like, my career started as this and then I transitioned to this and then I did this for a little bit, but now I'm here and I love it. Like I've always just been inspired by that because I think that like when I was in college, it was always like you get your degree, then you get your first job, then you get your second job. Like I thought it was such a linear path, but I feel like I've learned that like career to get to where you're like either like one really something that you're really passionate about or something you love doing or like just working at like your dream company or whatever, it often doesn't come at like this like straight clear by the book path. It always kind of comes like in a up and down sort of way. And so I feel like that's what my podcast aims to do is like show people that like there's no clear cut way to like make your dreams come true, I guess. Like there's just so many avenues and so many different journeys, I guess. So yeah. But back to your question of do you think that everybody gets not everybody or do you think it's possible to get to like where you I don't know, to your dream job? I don't really know. I don't know if like is everyone have the chance to get to like exactly what they were thinking or exactly what is perfect for them. I don't know. I I guess we'll see. You can interview me in a few years down the road and maybe I'll have a better answer to that.
Okay. Andy, you look like you have something to say.
I don't think like I've never had a good answer for a dream job. Like people say that, and I understand some people like I want to do this. Like I'm gonna be that thing, that person doing that. And that's good for them, especially if they can do that. But I think if you were to ask me what my dream job is, I'll have a different answer every time.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one thing I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
or even like three things I want to do. Like the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be cool to own a coffee shop? Just be back there making
Yeah.
coffee every day. Yeah, that'd be really cool. But also, wouldn't it be really cool to be like a contractor, be out there like on the job site? Like,
We're hiring. You come be a contractor.
okay, yeah. See, and like the thing is, I think wherever I'm at, I'm gonna want to be somewhere else doing something completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the nature of at least my mind. Maybe some other people's as well.
Probably.
Like you don't think you'll ever be satisfied with just like where you're at and be like I want to stay here for the rest of my life.
No.
I don't think when I think of like my goals and my future, it has nothing to do with work. It has to do with everything but work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really interesting how most people relate some part of their character, or like if you ask somebody to describe themselves, like our intros, we said what we do.
Mhm.
Now, like
Yeah.
that was partially shaded by the fact that your podcast is sort of about people's jobs.
Yeah. I was gonna say
But
I think I told you guys to say that, but I would have probably asked anyways.
but if you ask most people, hey, like, what do you do, or who are you, or something, they're gonna tell you their job title.
Oh yeah.
Now, like, it might just be that's one of the easiest things to go to, but it still is definitely how people define themselves and look at themselves.
Yeah.
And you spend so much of your day, your week doing that.
Yeah. At
thing.
that club thing that I was at on Wednesday, they said you spend around 13 years of your life working, which the only higher category than that is sleeping. as far as like the one thing that you do. So it's just like it's something that's so, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It consumes, like for me, like right now, it consumes most of my time. Like I don't really have many other things, going on, I guess. So, thank you for indulging in the topic of my podcast, because it is an interesting one to like be interviewing people about their careers while I'm like so young in mine and like so unsure of where to go. So I don't know. I appreciate the insights. I think it's good.
Yeah, I would just say that it's important to develop parts of yourself outside of work and to not fully identify yourself with your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I have learned that like since graduating college, like making sure that I have like other communities outside of work that are like important to me and that I'm involved in, or like hobbies or whatever.
Hobbies, man.
Or else I feel like you'll drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, and I say that I'm not anti-work. I'm definitely in favor of working to some degree, but I just think that's a healthy critique of like a trapping that most people can easily find themselves in.
Yeah.
I think that our society is sort of set up to orient people towards work. Even the way that we school children up until they go to work. And
like I feel like the number one thing you ask kids when they're younger is like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And of course, like when we ask that, we're talking about their career, but like really they could say like, I really want to be into stamp collecting or something. But like when we aim that question, we're always meaning their career wise, because like that is what people see as their like number one identity is in their work.
Yeah, and I guess the thing is obviously work isn't new, but I think our orientation towards work and sort of the cultures around work are relatively new.
Yeah.
Like I would say only the last 150 years or so of this like modern style of working.
Yeah. Well, before that, that's like work was somebody's life, That's how we got, the name Miller.
Yeah.
Stuff
like
like
my
that.
last name.
Yeah, that's why I used it. Yeah.
What were you, Andy?
Named after a river.
Blackburn.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's the river at?
Blackburn,
yeah,
England.
I was curious about that too. That was great.
Yeah.
That could be like, I feel like I could have a whole nother podcast on just like what people put their identities in. Like that's like a whole nother topic that like it's almost too deep to even dive into, but it's so true.
Yeah. I think I might do a series on work at some point.
Yeah.
On work?
On work, yeah. Here's another
my friend
book here. This
Leisure.
is called Leisure, the Basis of Culture.
That's cool.
It's not perfect, but cool. It's kind of a critique of work.
Yeah. I think it also depends on, and this is an interesting point of view, I guess, but I also think it just depends on like what, I mean, I guess we already said this earlier, but like what your goals are for life, like just in general, like what, like, is your goal to like raise a family and like be like into that, or is your goal to like start this like nonprofit that's going to help all these people, or is your goal to just find, I don't know.
Do you think that you need to have goals?
I don't have goals, man. And I'm not joking when I say that. Like, you don't have to have goals.
Really? See, I feel like, how do you even like have motivation to live your life if you don't have goals?
I have
or, like things you want
goals.
to accomplish. There
are things I want to accomplish, but like when I think about what I want to be doing 2 years from now, like how everyone, like the standard question, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Sometimes I'll stretch it to 10. when I think about like where I want to be next year, I want to like probably be employed so I can pay the bills, but like I kind of just want to see where life takes me. That's kind of like how I got my job I have now. Is like I wasn't seeking out a job of this type. It was just kind of like I was just applying to like everything. And I got an interview with my company and I thought that does not sound like it's for me. And then I didn't get any more interviews, so I took it. And I really like my job. But I would probably like a lot of different jobs, and I don't have a career goal, and I don't have like a long term goal. Um, Sometimes you know how people are like, I want to like live in the city, or like basic stuff like I want to live out in the country someday. I'm like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
I could go anywhere, be doing any job that I don't absolutely hate,
Mm.
living with hopefully somebody I can bear to live with. Maybe I'm happy living alone. It doesn't matter. Kids, no
Mm-hmm.
kids, pets, no pets. I think I can
So
find what?
I was sorry,
Yeah,
I was gonna
go ahead.
interject. I just think that's crazy because that's so different than how I think. How do you, and maybe this is too deep of a question, but like, how do you feel like your life has purpose if you don't have like goals of where you want to be or
What do
what do
you?
you want to do or what you want to accomplish?
Uh, I don't really like that word. I don't think like I don't do stuff because of like to give my life purpose, or I don't think I have like um, a set path in life with a purpose. Uh, but I know that I have a life, and here I am living, and I've got friends and a family. I'll just keep on going. I don't,
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So sometimes, and sometimes I like to joke. It's a sick joke, but when people like ask me, they'll be like, um, "Here's a good example." Like those crazy vacation spots, and they book so far out, and they're like, "Oh man, you can't." You're like, if you want to go to that place, you got to book 12 months out. When people tell me
Mm-hmm.
that, and you hear about it occasionally, and I'll be like, wow, that's crazy, like that'd be cool to go. But really, my first thought is always, I don't know if I'm going to be alive in a year. And that's not like,
Mm.
obviously dying isn't my like it's a choice, but it's not my choice. I want to keep living,
Yeah.
but you never know what's going to happen to you. And I think I just take life like day by day and just do what makes me happy, and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
Three weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I was not thinking about model trains.
And now
And
you
here I am
are.
submitting an application to learn about trains for what, like, that could be a career path.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I like that kind of stuff, just like taking, seeing where things take me.
Mhm.
Maddie, how do you develop meaning?
Great question, Clay. Thanks for asking. I was going to ask you that question because I feel like, I don't know, I'm curious.
You can
I
ask
think
Maddie.
I'll go ahead and answer it now.
Yeah, go, go.
I think that what Andy's saying has a lot of value. I think that, I don't know, at least the culture I'm in, I don't know if I could say culturally like in the US or something, but I think that we're very goal oriented almost to a fault. So I think there's some balance to it. I think
Mm-hmm.
you need to be ready to embrace like any changes that might come up, but I think that you can
Yeah.
use goals and a mission as something to to calibrate yourself and orient yourself in a direction. And I think you still need to have the flexibility to go with life, like wherever it might take you.
Yeah. Oh, I could not agree more. I think like like I said, like I have a lot of goals for my life and I think they're great, but like some of the goals that I have that like I had a year ago have diminished because I just like, oh, I actually am not passionate about that anymore. And I think that's
Mhm.
totally fine, like being adaptable and flexible in your life. But yeah, I think yeah.
Again, I kind of think that goals are more of a modern thing.
Hmm.
And I think more of a specifically like Western modern thing.
Yeah.
And I think it feeds into our like capitalistic consumer
Yeah.
society.
That's why I think when I think about when people ask me what my goals are, and like I hate like I don't want to use the examples that first come to mind because I know it's not what they're asking me. But like my goals are the things I want to learn how to do that like I think are fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn how to develop my own film, like photos.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
could,
think a lot of
go ahead.
sorry. A lot of goals now are almost signaling or like used in a job interview or something, or just
Mhm.
something that you're using to promote yourself in front of other people.
Yeah, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of silly. What if what if you have your dream job? What if you love making pizzas and you make pizzas? You don't even own your own pizza place. You work at somebody else's pizza place, but you go in and you love making those pizzas. And someone's like, "What's your goal?" And it's like, to make more pizzas, and you're happy
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, and in some way, it does put social pressure on you to feel uncomfortable with whatever
Mm-hmm.
position that you're
Yeah,
currently in.
because they want
And
you
like
to say,
always to
like
be
they'll be
looking
like,
at what's next.
they want you to say, "I want to be able to make more pizzas or own my own pizza place." But if you're where you're at and you like it, like
Mm-hmm.
what? Why have a goal to grow?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a big Zen guy.
Yeah.
He's a
Oh,
sand garden.
I have a sand garden.
Sand
They're
garden.
more annoying than you think.
I love that. I love a Zen garden.
Do you want
I
mine? You can
like
have.
both. Like my mind is so split in two. Like I can
Uh,
easily just go down like the whole goal side and like execute just
Mm-hmm.
like a computer. Like I could like write a
Mm-hmm.
program for myself and just
Yeah.
live
like
that
yeah,
out.
even you were saying you were thinking about higher education. You're not ruling it out. That's
Yeah.
kind of like having
True.
a goal,
Yeah.
kind of.
I agree that like I think that like too much, I'm trying to think. I'm not super into like the personality test, but you know how like in personality tests they'll be like, "Oh, this person's really goal driven or this person's really success driven or whatever." Like when I think about that, I'm like I can I could tend to get that way, but I don't think that that's necessarily healthy for me sometimes because it does always lead me to be like what's next? Where am I moving next? Where's my next job? Instead of just like being happy where I'm at. And I've had to really I feel like fight against that in the past year because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so young in my career. Like I feel like I have to be doing all of these things to like prepare myself for the future." Whereas like I also think it's so great to just like kind of be chilling and happy where I'm at for a little bit until I really feel like it is time to move on to whatever's next.
Yeah. I mean I think there's that old adage of wherever you go, like there you are. You're still with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, I've got a different tangent. You were talking about personality tests.
Yeah, that's a
You said you
great
don't.
tangent if that's where you're going.
No, I just have something like a little bit to say about them. And
Yeah, let's hear it.
well, you said you don't like them, right? Is that what you said?
I have
So,
an interesting relationship with them. First thing, a side note is whenever people meet me, I feel like they always think that I'd be somebody who would love personality tests, and it's always the opposite. I'm just like, I don't like to be like put in a box. So, the Enneagram, like having there's only like 9 people on this earth, like I just don't think that's true. And I've
Do you know
seen
the history of all of those tests?
No. What is it?
They're very interesting. They're very like occultic.
Yeah, well, so
For instance, the Enneagram comes out of Gurdjieff's work.
I don't know who that is.
But we don't need to go there. And the Myers-Briggs comes out of Jung's work.
Yeah, so Myers-Briggs, I actually read the book on Myers-Briggs when I was in grad school for a class project. And I just like, I get that some of those things can be helpful to like realize your strengths and weaknesses, but I also think that like, one, people change over time, and 2, like the humans are just so much more complex than like that. And I honestly have seen people like excuse their behavior or like the way they act towards someone else or the way they act, and they're like, oh well, I'm an Enneagram this, so sorry, or I'm like whatever the like zodiac sign, it's my Aquarius whatever, I don't know.
Did you know that I am a triple Gemini?
Wow.
That explains a lot.
I don't know what that means. How do you get to be a triple?
That was the right answer, Andy. Triple Gemini. I don't know. There's like a moon sign and a sun sign and something else.
There's got to be a
rising
third
sign.
Wow.
I think it's called your rising.
That sounds really cool. I'm also a Gemini. But
you might also be... No, probably not.
No, because my birthday is a few days after yours. Which, after all this time, aren't you so surprised I still know your birthay? It's only because
it's 3 days before
like
yours.
3 days before.
I
just feel like you should really value the fact that I remember when your birthday is. Every year, I'm like, oh, it's Clay's birthday.
Oh.
Anyways, sorry. Andy, we are now ready for your...
I kind of like personality tests.
Personality tests.
What are you? Like an INTJ? I think I'm an INTJ.
I can't even remember.
No? Okay.
I don't know.
Why'd you read a book on Myers-Briggs?
So it was because Myers-Briggs is like a theory, is like a higher education theory. And so I had to read for my theory class, I had to read a book, and I was like, oh, I know Myers-Briggs. I'll read that. So I had to read that. Just like, basically about how they like came up with the theory in its entirety.
A lot of it's from Carl Jung, right?
I don't remember. Myers-Briggs, like Briggs is the last name of a woman, and it was like based off of her mom's work or something. I don't know. It was hard to remember.
Okay, Andy, you go. I'm gonna Google things.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna kind of talk. I didn't have anything super specific, but I feel like I feel like people, a lot of people, and especially in my instances of where I've experienced, in my experience, people misunderstand like the information, like how they're supposed to use the information from a personality test. Like Maddy, you were saying, like oh, I'm this, so either they think they have to follow that or they can use it as an excuse or something. But I think they can be quite helpful to just like being more in touch with like your own behavior. And that's kind of what I got. I took a couple different Enneagrams and got similar results. I don't remember what my results were. That's kind of, they give it a title and a number or whatever. And that's not the meaning I needed out of it. But understanding, I think, a little bit more about, for example, sometimes it doesn't always fit the person. Like you were saying, there's not 9 types of people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of types of people, but if you get something out of it saying like you react to this situation like this, and then you're like, I do, like I, you know, and like if you
Mm-hmm.
just kind of reflect on that and maybe you can think about why, I think it can just be helpful and valuable to, um, I don't know. It's kind of like therapy. You don't have to have an issue to go to therapy,
Yeah,
other than just like
I totally
learning
agree.
about, it just thinking deeper about why you behave the way you do can be helpful to improving quality of life.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
I think I'm anti-therapy.
Yeah? Why?
I think that's a
Really?
controversial take. I think I'm anti-therapy though.
Are you
That
anti
is a
like,
really controversial.
I'm not anti like. Mm,
may I?
yeah.
Because if this, I'm not, I could be completely wrong, but I'm in the boat of therapy as a business and licensed therapists and stuff is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's
But
very
there are
weird.
therapeutic things.
Yes.
Talking
Mm,
to a
I
friend is therapy.
yeah.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I like psychoanalytic theory,
Hmm.
but I don't think I don't think I would ever see a talk therapist.
Sure.
Okay.
I think in some ways, I guess for some people, maybe identifying their problems is somewhat
Mm-hmm.
liberating for them. But I think in other instances, you program yourself almost like a self fulfilling prophecy. Like once you come up with, like, oh, this is the thing that I have, and then you accept that you have this thing. Now, like for some
Yeah.
people, I think that that's like freeing and it allows them to maybe get over their thing. But I think other people can internalize it even to a greater
Mm-hmm.
extent.
For sure. I think you have to like be careful navigating it for sure, especially like when you have like an actual like diagnosis or you're I don't know. I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I'm in favor of doing therapy on yourself.
Sure.
Hmm. Like therapy as in like you're saying like reflecting on your life or like doing therapeutic things. Is that what you mean?
I guess all of the above, yeah.
Okay.
I think
Like
like
what is
anything, I think any conversation that you can have with a therapist, you could have with yourself. And
really?
I think that you could program yourself better than the therapist
I think so.
Hmm.
without having like a different agenda. Or if there is a different agenda, it at least comes from within you.
Yeah. Interesting. See, I don't think like I've never been to therapy, but I've thought about it before just to like talk about my life or whatever. And I always do think like it would be interesting because like I internalize things a lot and I've thought a lot about the different things that have happened in my life. But sometimes I always think like, I wonder if it would come out differently if I was telling somebody else. Or like I wonder if I'd
Probably.
discover something new if I was like verbalizing like the things that I've thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there are some problems that it seems like if you verbalize them, they do go away. But again, I think you could like literally talk to yourself or talk to like a trusted confidant who's not going to
Yeah.
talk back at you, I guess.
Yeah.
Journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah, journaling.
Journaling. I think there's just for some people, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like trying to be like the devil's advocate here or whatever, or
No, do
just
it.
a different
Devil's
perspective. But
advocates are
yeah, but I think like for some people, like for myself, again, never been to therapy, but have thought about it and wish it was offered through my work, honestly. But like the idea of like I have trouble being vulnerable with other people in my life, like cuz I'm just like scared of what they think or whatever. So like the idea of telling somebody all of my life stories and like my life problems that has like zero bias or like input in my life, like they don't affect my life in any other way, that kind of seems, pun intended, therapeutic to me.
I think a
Or
lot of people will still lie to their therapists. Or like
sure.
if their problem, like if whatever their little problem is within themselves is actually like smart enough and wants to continue existing,
Mhm.
it will figure out a way to like tell you will tell your therapist
Yeah.
something that will not lead them into your problem.
Yeah.
If they're a good therapist, they'll know. They'll know that you're doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's called a psychic.
Here's a situation.
Okay.
One time I was depressed, and I actually had a dream. And as soon as I had the dream, I woke up and I was no longer depressed. Like I was depressed for like probably weeks to a month. Had a dream. I was no longer
An
depressed.
epiphany, they call it.
Like the dream was like something that like was revealed inside of you. Like what was
Like I was asleep. Like I was sleeping and I had a dream. Not like I didn't have like a daydream. I didn't like
yeah.
I wasn't in
Like
meditation
it was like
or
during
something.
the night.
I didn't like think it. It was just like a subconscious like unraveling.
Do you remember what the dream was? You don't have to tell us.
I do, yeah.
That's
Okay.
cool. I didn't know if this was like a situation where you wake up and you're like, I
It was
can't remember
something-
what I dreamt, but wow.
No. So it sort of like was like a water slide.
Sweet.
It was like going down a water slide, but it was like old. It was like if you were like in the 50s at like a water park or something, going down
Yeah.
a water slide.
So the bathing suits were like a slightly different style.
Yeah.
Men's were a lot
Uh-huh.
shorter, tighter.
But then like as you went down the water slide,
Mhm.
like I figured out it was a snake.
In the shape of a snake or an
Oh.
actual
No, like
snake?
it was a snake.
Sweet.
Yes.
Wow.
And that was the dream.
That's a
That was a
cool
dream and it brought you out of like a depression. Was there a question attached to that? I forget. You were asking us.
No.
Is that real?
No, I think it was just an example of like
Yeah.
a self cure, I guess, of a mental
Self-care.
ailment.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I think, and this is just such a blanket statement, and I don't know, some people are going to be like, that's the most basic thing you could ever say in the world. But I think that just honestly, some things work for some people and other things work for other people. And there's just no like, but I also think that people can abuse the situation that they're in. For example, with a therapist, they can frame themselves in a way that makes it seem like it's one way, and then their therapist is going to feed into that, and that could lead to more problems. So all that to say,
A lot of
Just gotta be
therapists get into therapy because they themselves have problems.
yeah.
And I think some of them have resolved their problems, and I think others like have not.
Yeah, I actually know somebody who went to therapy and then like their therapist like broke and started crying
Yeah.
about their problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like they actually just need therapy themselves.
Mhm.
Oh, that would be
Sure.
terrible.
I don't know. Therapy is interesting.
It is interesting.
Did you ever
I think
think
I-
we would get to this topic on this podcast?
No, I really
This one-
didn't. But
this
I
is
love that.
exactly what I
I
grew up.
love that it was brought to this. I love that it was brought to this topic, and honestly, I'm never gonna. Someday, when I do decide to go to therapy, I'm gonna think of this conversation.
You should just call me. That'll be my
okay.
new occupation. My dream
Oh,
job
okay, yeah,
is actually being a therapist.
being a that Clay, that
It
was a
actually would be
great
so
way
great.
to wrap up. That was a great way to wrap up this conversation. I'll call you with all of my problems. Do you really think you could sit through an hour of me talking about my problems?
Yeah. Maybe.
If I
He
was
would not
paying
help you. He could
You're
sit
paying.
through it, but
I know he would just like sit through it and then just be like, "Oh, that sucks," but you'll probably get over it.
yeah. So is that going to be like check or Venmo? Like,
Yeah, he's like, my Venmo is.
I think my strategy would just to tell you something like so off the wall
mm-hmm.
and adjacent to your problem that it would work.
Imagine yourself
That it would like,
Oh.
yeah.
on a water slide. Okay.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
just
But it's a
unlock.
And then
snake.
the water
Think
slide
about
turns
it.
into a snake. That's just like your way to, and it solves everyone's problems
Does it
somehow.
every time.
Yeah. I love that.
I
Well,
think that the way of I don't think you can attack things like that head on. You have to like slip the solutions in. If that makes sense.
slip the solutions in. Yeah.
It's sort of the same thing in an argument. Like if somebody has a very like passionate stance on a topic or something like this, and they're very logical, you can't attack them. Like you can't convince them by going at them with another logical argument. Even if it's a perfect argument and defeats their thing, they're going to like not accept what you're saying to them. So the best way is just to hide basically a message in something that's rather
kind of out of left
irrational.
field. Yeah.
And
I'm gonna think
you
about that
just
next time.
sneak that in, and it's like, yeah, it's like a Trojan horse. And then at one point in time, that thing's gonna unlock.
Oh, great advice from Claylan Hart, therapist in training. I think that ended our time together really well. That the funny thing about our conversation today is that it really came full circle. We started talking about career, then we went into podcast, and then somehow we ended up talking about personality tests and therapy. And here we are at the end.
Can I read something in closing?
Yeah, I would love that. I'd love nothing more.
Hold on.
Is this going to be serious? Is this a...
Do you want it to be... there's a few things in my journal. I could say a few things.
Oh,
Would you like
well,
to
what
say
were
a
you
couple
originally
words?
planning?
Well, do you want me to say something on the topic of work?
Sure, you can say whatever you want.
Okay. Perhaps the true demon unleashed upon civilization by the world wars, or at least one that never was contained, was the realization of a state of total work. Or perhaps total work anticipated the wars. It is certain that the machines of war did not cease their animation, the total mobilization of the public never unrealized. What are we mobilized against now? Why are we impelled to continue ceaselessly?
You wrote that? I'm being so serious.
Yeah. Did I write that? Yes.
Yeah, it's in your journal. That was good. And I'm also, again, being really serious. That was super good. Thank you for sharing. That's a great way to wrap up our conversation on work and whatnot. I love that you came prepared with a journal entry.
Have you ever seen Fight Club?
No. I haven't. Why should I have?
You should watch that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that going to help me on my theory of work?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And
Great.
the therapy thing. It's like both.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Which therapy thing? Should I try to have a dream about a waterfall or a water slide and that turns into a snake? Or which
I think it's more of like a life philosophy.
Okay.
That you shouldn't follow. You're not supposed to follow it. But you could.
You met me at a very interesting time in my life.
It says a lot about like doing the slog of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a critique on like office culture and like the I don't know, like machine. Disenchantment of work. Yeah, the machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds great. Yep. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I think that's all the time we have.